Turn up your volume. because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. 8.6 beer. Intense by nature. And Locage. If the last time you went to Locage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to Locage. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Wednesday, November 2nd. It is just 1 minute past 10 o'clock Eastern, and the Montreal Canadiens are in Winnipeg as they prepare to visit the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow night. A Winnipeg Jets team that is doing not too shabby thus far this season, but the Habs might be catching them at the right time. The Jets have a record of 5-3-1. They're second in the Central. They're sixth in the Western Conference. The Habs are at 5-5, seventh in the Atlantic and 13th in the East. And I'm going to tell you that there was only a couple of games in the National Hockey League tonight. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, they were able to win one for their coach, who was going to be in serious trouble if they didn't. They beat Philadelphia by a score of 5-2. And it looks like this one is a final now. Buffalo has doubled up on the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're going to go to Sammy and Agnello at Master Control pretty soon, because I think the Pittsburgh Penguins have lost something like 6 straight games. It's not good what's going on in Pittsburgh. They blew it last night when they led the Boston Bruins by a score of 5-2, and they lost by a score of 6-5 in overtime in front of their fans. And tonight on the road, in Buffalo, they lose. All right, so only 2 games in the National Hockey League tonight. There's going to be a full slate of games tomorrow with the Canadiens and the Jets set to go at 8 p.m. Eastern. Scott Billeck of the Winnipeg Sun is going to join us tonight on the Sick Podcast, as will Marc-André Perreault, who's a regular contributor, regular collaborator every Wednesday when the Canadiens don't play. And when they do play, we try and find time for him some other time. It's the Sick Podcast, of course, brought to you in part by Lacage. If the last time you went to Lacage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you go back to Lacage. The menu will surprise you. I was at Lacage on Boulevard Côte-Vertu and Saint Laurent yesterday, and I think I'll be going to visit the one in LaSalle maybe tomorrow, as a matter of fact. By the way, the one in LaSalle has pizza and ribs. Not all of them do, but the one in LaSalle does, I guess, because, you know what, they're in Tony Marinaro's hometown, so they decided to take it to another level. It's pretty cool. Hey, we're going to take your phone calls at one point tonight as well. If you want to weigh in, if you have any questions, we've been more than happy to take them at 1-888-585-SICK. That's 1-888-585-7425. Boy, oh boy, do we have a lot of things to talk to you about. Of course, Juraj Slafkovsky was on the ice for about a minute yesterday with about a minute 20 left in regulation, and the game pretty much all but over with Minnesota up by a score of 4-1. And he was tired. It was the end of his shift. He was trying to get off, but he made, an error in judgment. He was a little bit naive in thinking that nothing's going to happen to me. It doesn't matter. And, he got pushed and he got hurt. And, luckily there's no further damage, but it looked like that, he was laboring when he went back. When he went back to the bench, it looked like he was laboring and stuff like that. But you know what? Luckily, he's okay. But Jake Evans tried to go to his defense yesterday, and when he did, he got corrected by Shaw. And then Arbor Jacki went after Marco Rossi, who's the one who actually shoved Slafkovsky. Marco Rossi is not a dirty player. And it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But of course, when you have an 18-year-old rookie, especially a rookie who's drafted like, first overall, you want to stand up for him and you want to protect him. And that's probably the best thing that came out of the game last night, is that the Canadiens showed that whole wolf pack mentality, that sometimes team toughness is better than having a couple of individual tough guys, right? Everyone just, if something happens, everyone jump to the defense of our teammate. And that's what they tried to do. Speaking of defense, Montreal Canadiens head coach Martin St. Louis has been on defense when you talk about Evgenii Dadonov, and pretty much everyone within the Canadiens organization has, because my buddy Jean-Charles Lajoie said a couple of days ago that Dadanov wasn't very happy with Martin St. Louis or his ice time, and he went to Kent Hughes to complain. Well, we got the exact version today, but Jean-Charles Lajoie wasn't completely wrong, because Dadanov wasn't happy. There was something that was done about it, and we're going to find out that. Do we have Marc-André Perreault of TVA? Do we have him? We have him. The guy they call Mapper. There he is.
Hey.
At his hotel room in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
There you go.
Thanks for doing this, because I know you could have been on the town in Winnipeg instead.
Well, you know what? I could have been asleep because I left St. Paul at 4:30 this morning.
Oh, really?
So, it was, there's no flights anymore from Winnipeg. And it's a real problem for my colleagues here. There's no more direct flight Winnipeg to St. Paul. I think there's nothing, or there's not a lot to Chicago. So it really is a big problem. So the only option, if you wanted to be at the practice at noon, was to drive at 4:30. So we saw the sunrise at Fargo, the town Fargo. It was beautiful. So we had a moment with my camera guy. So, but yeah, it's been a long day. But
Hold on
always
a second.
a pleasure.
Run that by me again. You drove?
Yeah.
From Minnesota to Winnipeg?
St. Paul, Minnesota, to Winnipeg. It's let's say 7 hours. But
oh my God.
It's, you know what? It's so easy. It's straight, downwind, no hills. Yeah.
It's 7 hours, but it's 7 hours. It's not,
well,
it's not across the street.
First, do not do it if you can't avoid, or do it with someone you like. Oh. That's my advice.
Hey,
I would do it with you.
Frank says on YouTube, your English is getting better every week, and you come across amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's my biggest concern when I talk to you, but thanks. I'll get there.
Practice makes perfect. Okay, listen. I want to get to Evgenii Dadonov.
Yeah.
Let's backtrack a second here if we can. Backtrack a couple of days. Dadanov is a healthy scratch.
Yep.
And then he does not practice the next practice they have.
And yeah.
We are told that he was doing a therapy day. Correct?
Yeah.
And then members of the media started to comment, some
Obviously.
Speculate, and our buddy, one of our best friends, Jean-Charles Lajoie of BPM Sport Radio and TVA Sport Television, he said that when Martin St. Louis lacked a little bit of patience with members of the media a couple of days ago who asked about Dadanov a couple of times and asked if the game that he missed was therapy related or injury related, Martin lost a little bit of patience.
He lost it.
You know, Eric Engels of Sportsnet told us that after off camera, Martin St. Louis basically kind of like apologized and said, guys, I hope we're cool type of thing. You were there. Did he do that? You saw that?
I was not there. I was home, there? But
okay.
I've been told. I don't think he felt bad because let's start from the beginning, okay? Because the story starts on Friday when Dadanov's agent calls Kent Hughes.
Which, if I can, pardon me, this is an information that you divulged today, correct?
That's correct. Or last night at on TVA Sport, the show with Dave and Elizabeth, but I repeated it this morning at BPM Sport. And I just, because it is so important, the timeline. So on Friday, Dadanov's agent calls Kent Hughes. He's like, well, it's not going well. My client is not very happy with his time on ice, with the fact that he doesn't have minutes on the power play, which is perfectly fine. And Kent Hughes, I met him between second and third period last night, and he's like, you know what? I really respect that. I would have done the same thing as an agent. So everything is cool.
You asked Kent Hughes about it, right? You're divulging this information because you asked Kent Hughes about it, and we
had an 18 minutes conversation. So just him and I, we met, we talked. He's a great person. And let me just say that I have complete trust in Kent Hughes that if he's telling me something, it's going to be the truth. If he is not, well, if it's not the truth, he's just not going to tell me, right? When he decided to answer a question, it's the truth.
The most honorable executives, not only in the National Hockey League, but of all of sport, when they establish a good relationship with a member of the media, what they'll tell you is, I can't always tell you the truth, but I'll never lie to you.
Exactly. Pretty much.
Yeah.
So then
en français, on dit pas toute vérité est beau à dire, right? You can't say all the truth, right?
But
sometimes
no bull.
Correct. No bull poop.
C'est ça. So Saturday, Dadanov finds out he's not playing. He's not happy, obviously, which is very normal. You want that, actually. So after the game, Kent Hughes goes to Dadanov.
Yes.
Having a chat, and Dadanov is like, you know what? I'm not happy. I'm going to be honest, but you know what? I understand the decision. I'm not playing well. I could do better, and blah, blah, blah. So they're cool. So everything is cool.
But Dadanov is probably wondering, after his agent calls Kent Hughes on Friday to say that, hey, listen, my client's not happy. He's playing 13 and a half minutes per game. He's not playing on the power play.
Yeah.
After he scratched a healthy scratch on Saturday, when the decision comes down that he's a healthy scratch on Saturday, he's probably wondering if it was because of that phone call, or was it determined that he was a healthy scratch before that call?
It doesn't have any link.
Okay, perfect.
Is it okay?
Okay.
So, and Kent Hughes is telling me, you know what, Dadanov he's being a real pro. He understands the situation and blah blah blah. So, and what I called the ingredient for a perfect storm, Dadanov catches a virus. Okay. I got a virus. A lot of people got a virus. I mean, I was swallowing like razor blades every 10 seconds. Okay. So I understand, there's a virus running around. So that's the ingredient for a perfect storm, because you have a veteran guy, $5 million, doesn't play, and then poof, he disappears. The virus thing, you can ask a lot of questions about it, which is very normal, and it's our job. So Martin is a coach, a player's coach, former player. He doesn't want to throw Dadanov under the bus. So and you know what? I'll be very honest, and I said that to Kent Hughes. Martin Saint-Louis doesn't react correctly, because the questions are, do you say legitimate?
Yes.
I mean, the second question when he lost it was, can you confirm it was a healthy scratch on Saturday? And then he loses it. I understand him. I mean, I'm not blaming him, because, as I told you, he's a player's coach and blah, blah, blah. But the questions had to be asked.
Of course they did.
And
by the way, it upsets me when people say I'm Montreal media, especially the Francophone media, this and all that. They were legitimate questions. Anyone who was doing their job, those are questions that needed to be asked. Having said all that, St. Louis' reaction will lead some to believe that he was not in the best of mood, because there was maybe a bad reaction on Dadonov's part. And then you hear about this virus, and now you're starting to wonder if there really was a virus. Continue.
Well, I think the problem was that we were we didn't use the word virus. We used the word treatment day. What is a treatment day? From my experience, 9 years, I'm sure you have the same thinking than me. Treatment is when you have bruises, when you played a back-to-back and you need a massage or something. A virus is a virus. So now you start all this. I call that the Dadanov gate. I don't know if
that's okay.
Let's talk about the Dadanov gate. So it started, and then a lot of different versions, a lot of anything goes.
Yeah.
So Kent Hughes told me the truth, and that's what happened. And I've been told that Dadanov has been a pro. He did not, comment tu dis ça, do the baboon. He didn't
He wasn't pouting.
Yeah, he was not moody, and today he was okay. He was at the game last night, flew with the team, practiced today. What's gonna happen? We don't know, because Edmondson probably is going to be back. So you need to make a decision, because you have 15 forwards, and that's too much. That's too much money on the salary cap. Maybe Dadanov will be on the waivers. We don't know, but it will not gonna be because of his reaction after Saturday's healthy scratch.
Well, so before even any of this happened, I mean, the Canadiens are trying to trade a veteran on the team. The entire league knows that.
Yeah.
It's just that they haven't been able to find the taker yet. I mean, if they could find the taker for Dadanov or Hoffman or Drouin, with all due respect to these three players, because they're trying to shave some money off of the cap, and because they have a surplus of 3 extra forwards right now, this is what they want to do. But it's not happening. They're not finding any takers right now.
And I don't think it's going to happen. But Kent Hughes was very honest. He's like, yeah, if I can trade Dadanov, and I mean, from my understanding, the two others' names are in the mix as well. If I can trade them and help them, having a new start, I will do it. But right now, it's not happening. So we'll see in the next hours. But that being said, Marty St. Louis, nobody looked good when Marty lost it. I mean, it doesn't help no one.
It was uncomfortable, too. It was uncomfortable watching.
It was. And you know what? Martin St. Louis is not like that since he arrived in Montreal. Have you seen his presser today in French?
He was all smiles.
He was smiling. He was giving it to me. We were smiling, having fun. And anyone
but if I can, it's also important that he reacted that way, because he's got to try and erase what happened a couple of days ago. But listen, I agree with you. He probably is just a guy who's often in good moods, but he just probably, was not his day the other day.
I think anyone, if you, whatever you understand or not French, you should see, I think TVA Sport put the link on Twitter. Take a look at that. And Martin St. Louis is having
TVA Sport,
fun.
Fantastic television station. Fantastic.
You know what? Thank you. I think we're doing some pretty good things. There's a lot of good.
What I like most about them is their ability to identify talent and scoop up the talent.
Look at the guy who's pumping his tires.
I didn't say nothing.
Well, I'm saying
I just said what I like about them is their ability to identify talent.
No, the sports fans in Quebec are very lucky, both in French and English.
Yes,
I mean, there's some very good stuff. But take a look at that.
A lot luckier in French, yeah.
Yeah, take a look at that. It was fun. It was fun. And if I can add to that,
yes,
c'est à l'image de l'équipe. I mean, it's the same mood.
Yeah.
From
portraying the same image of the team. Correct. It's a team that is young. It's dynamic. They're loosey goosey. They're having fun. And today's press conference was that. And you know what? Even though Kent Hughes hasn't been on the podcast yet, he's like that too. He's all business when it's business. But he's able to crack a joke. He's able to have a good time. And I have to tell you something. You said something before about Kent Hughes. Kent Hughes is an exquisite person. He's la grande classe.
He is.
Kent Hughes is big time class, and this conversation he had with Dadanov and going to see Dadanov before this thing got any bigger. People talk around the league, players talk around the league. They have other friends that play on other teams, this, that, whatever, all that stuff. There's one thing the players won't be able to say. Maybe it won't work out. Maybe Montreal won't work out for everybody. It's hard for it to work out for everybody, any city, any team. But they're not going to be able to say anything bad about Kent Hughes. And they're not going to be able to say, and they're not going to be able to say anything bad about Jeff Gordon either. The Canadiens are in good hands. They're in good hands, the Canadiens. From a player, from a managing people perspective and a communication perspective, very strong what they have going.
And Tony, I would add Martin Saint-Louis in the mix because I'm not friends with them. I only work with them. I respect them, but it's a treat to work with these people. And we were talking about loosey-goosey and having fun. You should have seen the practice today. I mean, Slafkovsky was all smiling. He was playing like flipping pucks with Jack-Eye. He kicked the puck, almost got Jack-Eye on the head. It's on my Twitter if people want to take a look at that.
Yeah, that's not good.
You have it was just fun. You have
Agnello and Sammy and Master Control. Sorry, Mapper. Agnello and Sammy and Master Control. Go to Marc-André Perreault's Twitter and get that for us. And when you do, let us know, and we're going to put it on. All right.
I have 2 videos, and I put clickbait just to make sure that people would. So that's the second video, the second clickbait. Yeah. The first one is Pezzetta and Jack-Eye pretending that they're going at it, and they are having fun. And when the young guys are like that, what do you think it does to the veteran? They're seeing that and they're like, oh man, we're having fun. We're gonna have fun.
It makes them feel young again. And if I was Pezzetta, I would fake fight Jack-Eye too. I wouldn't fight him for real. It's the Sick Podcast, and is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group. If you ship commercial freight and want to impress your boss with how much money you can save, get in touch with the logistics professionals at Energy Transportation Group. Email them at sick@shipenergy.com or visit their website at shipenergy.com. Continue, Mapper. You were saying?
I was just saying the most important thing, because I talked about the mood to Martin Saint-Louis, which it gave us another moment that finished with a blink. It's important, but have you seen this team abandonné?
Quit. No, not yet.
We haven't seen that. No. And we've seen that so many times in the last years. It did not happen this year.
Yeah.
So they are having fun.
They didn't show up in the second yesterday. They were outplayed, but they didn't quit. For example, I mentioned on the podcast a couple of days ago, that game that they won in St. Louis on Saturday night, before Marty St. Louis, they would not have won that game last year. Maybe even with Marty St. Louis, right? They didn't quit. They were down a couple of goals, and you saw the way they battled back.
But did they quit in Minnesota? No, they did not.
No, they didn't.
They did not. They had a poor second period. That's a fact.
Yes.
But they did not quit, which is, for me, it's the most important thing. And they're going to lose a ton of games until the end of the year. I would be surprised.
I hate to say this, but I hope so. I mean, I know that 10 games doesn't make a season. I know it doesn't, because there are teams that got off to a great start and then ended up collapsing. There are teams that got off to a terrible start and they ended up finishing very strong. But, if the Canadiens are going to rebuild, I don't like this record of 5-5. And
you're in your spa, your Trivy spa, dreaming about those Bedard and Fantilli guys. Yes. I'm sure you wake up at night to hockey DB these guys.
Well,
I know you.
Not to that point. I mean, I wake up at night if my wife taps me on the shoulder, but not the hockey DB. No, not the hockey DB. So I said, no, you like that one. All right. The beauty of some of the things that you can say and do on a podcast, we're keeping it clean. No, it's the Sick Podcast, and is brought to you in part by 8.6 Beer, intense by nature, the beer for those who follow their instinct and live their passions in order to make their mark. It's a pleasure to talk to Marc-André Perreault of TVA Sport, who is at his hotel room in Winnipeg. The Canadiens visit the Jets tomorrow night. Agnello, do we have the video? Mapper, do we have it at all? Can we get Agnello on here?
Yeah, we'll have it in we're having it in a few seconds. We're pulling it up.
Okay, thank you very much. You just give me the thumbs up, okay?
All
Hey,
right.
how are you, by the way?
We're doing good, man.
Hey, I like that white polo, sick top. That's a nice one.
It's very white.
I don't
bucks.
I don't have anything white in my closet, by the way. They're all black tops or
For you, $20 for Mapper free.
Oh, by the way, look at this nice one. I gotta go get it. Hold on a second. Talk to Mapper. I gotta go get some.
Mapper, he never makes me talk. You noticed that, right?
They all say that black makes you look thinner, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we got them all black.
Oh, look at that. Red doesn't work though.
Hey, this is a nice color, right?
What is it?
It's I'm Marinaro, but this is a nice color.
Oh, I should have one.
Yeah. By the way, you know somebody.
Do I?
Who wore a T-shirt saying "I'm a Tony Marinaro guy," right?
Yeah, Tony Marinaro girl. Back in the days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Former girlfriend. She was in love with you, which was a problem at some point. But
so hold on a second. No, Agnello, come back. This is the best part, and you're leaving. Agnello, where are you going? Come back. So a former girlfriend of yours, was such a huge fan of mine that
which
she
I don't
had
understand.
a shirt printed up saying "I'm a Tony Marinaro guy" or "Tony Marinaro girl," and she wore the shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't like it.
And you were dating her.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird.
Oh my God.
But
what did you
great person. Great person.
I'm sure she is. It looks like she's got fantastic taste.
Well, she didn't that's not always, but yeah, great person.
So let me ask you this. So you're dating, and let's just say you're going to the cinema to watch a movie.
Yeah,
I
would.
It's possible that she would wear that shirt.
No, not with me. It was a case of, can you please?
So she wore.
Can you take a break?
So she wore this shirt if she was home alone casually, but if you guys ever went out on a date or whatever, she would not wear the shirt.
There you go. Not that I'm the type of guy who's telling his girlfriend how to dress.
No.
There's a limit.
You're a jealous guy. It's very, very clear.
Jealousy is an ugly feeling. It's an ugly feeling. So you should take notes with Jean-Charles.
Oh my God.
We got the video. We're gonna put it up. Okay.
This is a fantastic story. All right, so leave and put up the video. What a fantastic story this is.
No, it is not.
Oh. He almost caught him in the head. Luckily, he was wearing a helmet, though.
But they were having fun for seriously like 6 minutes, which is a century in the hockey practice. They were just having fun. And you look, any practice, Cole Caulfield is celebrating each goal like it was like the 7th game of the Stanley Cup. They are having fun. It's great to watch. It's great to watch.
Let's hear from Juraj Slafkovsky, because members of the media wanted to speak to him today to get his thoughts on getting hit from behind by Marco Rossi yesterday. Let's hear from him.
Yeah.
So do you feel safer with Jake Evans on the ice or Jack Guy when you need to?
I mean, yeah, I don't like. I think it doesn't matter who is there. Like, everyone wants to revenge, or how to say. So, yeah, I feel safe with the boys on the ice. Sorry.
Are you going to be aware next time?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, I would say it was after 2 minutes. I just was thinking about dump the puck, and I didn't really see him coming. But that stuff happens, and just have to learn from that.
Is it typical from the team that every guy stands for each other? It seems like it's the same thing since the beginning of the year.
I would say it's typical for like good team or like good group of people that no matter who get, or I wouldn't say hurt, but no matter what happens, there is always guy behind your back, and I think that's the most important thing, and that's what makes actually good team even better team.
So you feel that you are in a good group of people?
Oh, I feel, yeah, this is a really good group of people, and yeah, I like to be one of them.
How can you describe the importance of what the coaches bring you day in and day out and the feedback they've been giving you so far?
Yeah, it's pretty important, I would say, because yeah, if you don't have feedback, you can't really get better. But it's good, like what they say, all the meetings. It actually like makes sense, and we can see that. And if we use that, we can see that it works. So I'm really happy how it works so far.
I'm not sure how much attention you guys pay to the expectations of your team, but 5-5 after the first 10 games, some people wouldn't have had you guys there. Are you guys happy with that start, or do you expect more of yourselves?
Yeah, of course we are happy, but why not win more if we can, and we see that we can like play with maybe better teams on like paper, and like yeah, I would say we can play against everyone and we can take points from everyone, so why not?
All right, there you have it. A lot of people are commenting on YouTube that they like listening to Slafkovsky. He's obviously young, but he's genuine. He's a breath of fresh air.
Refreshing.
Yes, and was it you that asked the question? Do you think this is a good group because you guys were standing up for each other and stuff like that? It sounded like your voice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and the Evans or Jacky. With who's got the heavyweight belt?
Yeah.
But I think it's Jacky, obviously. But he's a great kid. And last night it was a welcome to the NHL moment for him. He learned a lot, but I was watching him, and he is one of the reasons why veterans like Dadanov, you said Hoffman, Drouin is healthy scratch sometimes. He is one of the reasons why these guys are healthy scratch.
Of course.
Because the young players are better than expected. Nobody expected Jacky to be that good. I didn't expect Goulet to be that good.
Let me take it a step further. The young players are better than a lot of the older players, period.
Of course. And Slafkovsky is better than I thought. I thought he would start the season in Montreal and then go to Laval, get some good minutes. But you know what? He's doing the same exact thing as Suzuki did 3 or 4 years ago, which is starting on the fourth line, having some, 10, 11 minutes, and then slowly but surely having power play time. And then soon he's going to be on third. And you know what? The first thing we know, he's going to be on the second or even the first line.
Even if they wouldn't be better than some of those older players, they have more compete. And they play harder, and the culture that Marty St. Louis is trying to instill, that's what he wants. He doesn't, he's not going to keep players in the lineup if they don't have a high compete level. That's just the way it is. Hey, by the way, in regards to my pink shirt here, I'm Marinaro, with the muscle and everything. You can shop all your sports licensed lifestyle apparel, including hoodies, caps, t-shirts of your favorite teams from all major leagues, as well as our sick merch at sportbuffshop.com. Use code SICK10 for 10% off on all of their items. Okay, I won't keep you much longer, but there's one more thing I want to tackle. By the way, Samuel Montembeault will get the start in goal tomorrow. Joel Edmondson is probable. Most members of the media seem to think that we're going to see him tomorrow night. Josh Anderson had 0 shots in that game last night, and Marty St. Louis was asked about Anderson, and we know that he's going to protect his players. But he was saying something like he's okay with Josh Anderson's play. And you know what? I'm not. He's capable de mieux, though. He's better than that.
Well, he is. I mean, how could I say that? He is the perfect prototype.
Yes.
Of a hockey player. I mean, he's got all the tools. He's got the size. He's got the grit. He's got the speed. He's got a good shot. But I don't know. Too often, I just don't.
He doesn't always put it together.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got 5 points in 10 games, which is pretty okay. But I'm sure he's the first to know he can be better. And for me, it's a compliment to say that he can be better, because I really think he could be a heck of a hockey player. He's got everything. That being said, he's the one who's going to make the decision, right? So we'll see with Josh Anderson. Marty St. Louis says he's okay with him. Doesn't have to be a hockey genius to know that he's expecting a little bit more from Josh Anderson. So we'll see in the next few days. And you talked about Joel Edmondson. I mean, it was funny because, again, Martin was on a good mood. And I'm like, Martin, I don't want to break the mood. So if I ask you a question about Edmondson, will it break anything? And then he's smiling. And then he gave us the information that he's a real possibility for tomorrow. So let's cross our finger, because, I mean, whatever, the defense squad was very good, but Joel Edmondson is going to be a plus, obviously.
All right. And Dadanov was back at practice, which was an option.
He was, and he was having sometimes, but he
was out of breath. He was
out of breath, like you and I.
You think there's a cardio issue?
No. I mean, well, the guy just got a virus, so I mean, I'm just saying it. I mean, it would be normal not skating from the last, not saying that he's out of shape. No, he's okay. Yeah.
Hey, we're going to find out about the Winnipeg Jets now, the Montreal Canadiens' next opponent. So I will bid you good night. Merci beaucoup. And you are very appreciated on this podcast. I can tell you that right now, based on some of the comments coming in. Mapper, tu penses quoi de Doc? Je trouve qu'il joue bien. Okay. Marty let his young talent play free and allows them to make mistakes. Is coming in from Mark Finanza. Tony, send one T-shirt to Mapper's current girlfriend. This coming in from Stéphane Gaudreau. Bobby says, please take Weidman out of the lineup. The dude is brutal to watch. Bobby doesn't hold back, by the way. When he doesn't like a player, it's not hard to figure it out. He'll let you know. Mark Finanza says Eddie will play in front of his family tomorrow. Ryan Katz says maybe Edmondson has a chat with Mark Scheifele. Speaking of which, the Winnipeg Jets, they have some players who are not at 100%. To talk to us about it is going to be Scott Billeck from the Winnipeg Sun. Good evening, my friend. How are you?
Hey, how are you guys doing? Is this sacrilege to wear this hat on your show?
You could we talk Canadiens hockey here, but we don't have a problem with a Boston Red Sox cap. We don't have a problem with that. Right. It would probably sting a little bit more if it was Washington, who, of course, when the Expos left, relocated to Washington. That would probably sting a little bit more, but some would probably even like that too, because Washington is the new favorite team for a lot of Montrealers who used to love the Expos. Hey, we just talked about the health or lack thereof of the Winnipeg Jets. What's going on from a health perspective? Because it seems like there's 5 or 6 players who are not at 100%.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously Nikolai Ehlers and Logan Stanley both on IR with their respective injuries. So that's well, at least in Nikolai Ehlers' case, that's a big loss for the Jets. But they've been dealing that with them since Game 2 of the season. So that's something they've been dealing with. But right now, Mason Appleton, top line guy who has replaced Nikolai Ehlers, has some sort of illness. So I'm not entirely sure what it is or if he's going to be able to play tomorrow. But Morgan Barron won't play tomorrow. He's got an upper body injury. They're not entirely sure exactly how they want to kind of go about that injury, how to kind of deal with it. He had been playing through it. It's been kind of a lingering thing. So they're not sure kind of if they need to sit him for too long or what they want to do with that. So, and then Pierre-Luc Dubois, who probably gets the chat going here. He didn't practice today. Blake Wheeler didn't practice. And Josh Morrissey, and they were labeled as maintenance day. Josh Morrissey, I can definitely see that he got banged up pretty good in Vegas in the 2-1 loss in overtime on Sunday. But I expect Wheeler and Dubois to play. Morrissey could be a bit of a question mark, and Appleton's a question mark as well, just because they don't want him in the locker room if he's still sick. And then from there, obviously losing Morgan Barron, it kind of throws a bit of a wrench into their third line, which they made an emergency recall today for a guy named Jansen Harkins, who who can kind of fill in that role, but he's not the same level as Morgan Barron, obviously. So
Rick Bowness was out due to COVID. Is he going to be behind the Winnipeg Jets bench tomorrow night?
yeah, he will be. So he's So what a year for Rick Bowness. Gets COVID right before on the afternoon of Winnipeg's home opener. It's almost 3 weeks ago now. Misses that game, their first road trip. Comes back, coaches behind the bench for the Toronto Maple Leafs on Hockey Night in Canada. And then he's out again after that. Nearly fell over at the podium here in Winnipeg on the day that he came back. So he had a bit of a struggle. Wasn't on the last road trip with the Jets, and returned this week onto the practice ice. So it's been it's been a wild year for Rick Bowness. Hasn't really coached the team a whole lot during the regular season. Of course, these are his first couple of practices that he's done. Two now, because he kind of just got back, but he's better now. He doesn't look very ill like he did when he tried to come back the first time. This time he's back, and he'll be back behind the bench tomorrow night.
How good or not is the depth on this Jets team? Because we know that on the top two lines, Scheifele with Wheeler on his right, Perfetti on his left. You got Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's got Kyle Connor on his left. He's got Mason Appleton on his right. If Nick Ehlers is in the lineup, like you said, he's in for Mason Hamilton. That's a big top six. So now I got to ask you about, the bottom six. Appleton would probably be down. You got Lowry, you got Gagne. How's the bottom six on this team?
Yeah, it's been good. For the first time in a long time in the city, you can actually say that you would actually like the bottom six of this team. You have a fourth line that actually plays. Which is, something that a lot of coaches will tell you need four lines in this league to win. The Jets haven't really had that in the last few years. And now they have Sam Gagne was playing on it, with the injuries, but ideally they would have a guy named Saku Manalainen, who is a big Finnish kid. They have David Gustafsson, who's somebody they drafted a couple years ago in the second round. And they also they've had Sam Gagne on that line as well. And that's been a bit of a boon for them. Sam Gagne's got 3 goals on the year for them, including one game winner. And that's the kind of line they've leaned on that line quite a bit, especially with a couple back-to-backs early on in the season. They've had that going, so that's been good. And the third line with Adam Lowry, so they had to, obviously Andrew Kopp's gone from this town. They've lost a few guys, but Mason Appleton's been back after they claimed, or they traded for him last year in Seattle, so that's been good. And then Morgan Barron, who they got in the Andrew Kopp trade with the Rangers last year, they already had him pegged in third line even before camp started, and he started off the camp injured. But Morgan Barron has been very good for this Jets team, and so what I'm trying to say is, like, they've done a really good job this year of building a bottom six that they can actually depend on, that you can actually go out and send those lines out. They've played that fourth line late in the third period. At times, they trust that line here to do the job of shutting down other teams, and they've also trusted it to find some offense when the Jets can. They were the best line against the Vegas Golden Knights. The Jets got wildly outplayed by the Vegas Golden Knights. You never want to say your fourth line is your best line, but they have shown at least that they can hang with some of the big top lines in the league. And that's not something you've really ever been able to say in Winnipeg. It's been a long time since the Jets have had, probably since the days of Matthew Perreault and him dropping down to those lines and that sort of thing. But it's been a while, and this is now a team that actually does have some depth outside of those two big lines up front.
The first unit on the power play, they use for the most part 4 forwards on the defenseman, right? With Josh Morrissey being that lone defenseman.
Yeah, and so they've been doing that. Sometimes they'll cycle Neil Pionk in there, but they like to keep him with Nate Schmidt on the second power play unit. So the problem with that too is this power play was really good when Nikolai Ehlers was healthy. Yeah, and it hasn't been so good since Nikolai Ehlers has been out. And part of that is they reverted to last year's kind of power play with Blake Wheeler, and no fault of Blake Wheeler, just father time catches up to you. But it's a very stagnant power play with Blake Wheeler. It doesn't move. There's not a lot of motion. So they haven't really gotten a lot of good looks, haven't got a lot of good chances lately. With Nikolai Ehlers, they were moving. That was a very, I think Colorado Avalanche or Tampa Bay Lightning, like that type of motion, between the seams, up the blue line. There was a lot. It was quick. It was fluid. It moved really well. With Ehlers out, it struggled, and then that's been part of the problem on the power plays. They haven't been able to get a lot of goals. The other thing too is,
Ehlers a guy who scored. Ehlers a guy who scored 11 more goals than Blake Wheeler last year, right? And like you said, Blake Wheeler now is getting up there. I mean, he's 36 years old.
Yep.
And obviously Ehlers is pretty much in the prime of his career, but unfortunately for him, he's there's been a couple of seasons now. Last 3 seasons, I believe, or 4 seasons where he's ran into some injury trouble.
Yeah, and that's his. I think the last time he played 80 plus games was 2017-18.
You would
was
be
the
correct.
last time.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the last time he did that. And I think last year he missed 20. The year before that, I mean, they were shortened seasons for the last 2. So, but he's definitely missed a good chunk of time in the last, as you said, in the last 3 or 4 years. And that's been a problem. And I think it's also so this is the first year that they put Nikolai Ehlers on the top line and the top power play. That's a big thing that the coaching change here did in the offseason was really put their trust in Ehlers. Rick Bowness has raved about his playmaking abilities, his speed, all that kind of stuff. But now he's out. I mean, he was showing that. I mean, that line was good. The top line of Connor, Scheifele, and Ehlers is a pretty formidable line in the NHL. But without Ehlers, they miss a little bit of that playmaking ability, that zone entry ability. And the same thing on the power play. I mean, they were playing Scheifele, Connor, and Ehlers on the power play as well. And that was another part, thing that was helping that line, that they were creating chemistry 5-on-5 and 5-on-4. Now it's back to Blake Wheeler on the power play. And it runs differently, and they haven't really figured out a way to change it up. I mean, I honestly, I think they should just put Cole Perfetti on the power play and take Blake Wheeler off of it, because at least it offers something different, a different look, and a guy who is a little bit more creative. I mean, Blake is still a world-class passer, but he kind of just sits in one spot for a lot of the time, and it just doesn't. It's not enough. It's not enough to get this power play going, and you can see it just based on the numbers recently.
I got to tell you something. I think David Rittich is a better goaltender than what we've seen thus far at the National Hockey League level. He and Hellebuck could be quite a duel. I could be wrong on my scouting report on Rittich, by the way, but I think he's better than what we've seen.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's been put in a couple back-to-back, so, you're not getting the best effort out of the guys in front of him, just based on fatigue and that sort of thing. I thought he's been all right. I mean, he hasn't been 2019-20, the first half of the year where he was an NHL All-Star. He's probably been a little more close to, he hasn't been as bad as he was in the back half of that season either. But he just kind of exists. I think this team kind of, it misses Eric Comrie a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you guys might know a little bit more, just what he's doing in Buffalo there, Eric, the way that he's been playing. Riddick's been all right. It's serviceable. I mean, he's only had to play twice here to start the year. And then Connor Hellebuck, based on the Jets this month is going to play probably all of the games just because they're so spread out. There is a back-to-back in middle of the month, Calgary and Seattle. So Riddick will probably get one of those games. They could be good. I just don't know if they're winning the Jennings good. I'm trying to do both there, but I mean, the way that Connor Hellebuck's played to start the year, I mean, here you go again. I mean, this is there's a reason why people around here call him Vezina Buck, and he's been very good to start the year. And so this is the thing. I mean, are the Jets going to be able to ride his wave as they did in the 1920 season, and he drags them to the playoffs like he did? Or are they going to figure out how to play better in front of him so that he doesn't see 50 shots a night like he did essentially in Vegas? I think it was 47 or 48 by the end of the night there. They need, and you guys would know in Montreal, I mean, a good goalie is a good goalie, but you do need a good backup at times too. I mean, there's only so much that Carey Price could do at times. You don't want to play the guy 70 games a year because it just tires him out for the playoffs if you get there. I'm just not sold on Dave Riddick yet. I get what you're saying. I'm just not entirely sure that's. I wasn't sold on it when they got him. I think they should have made a better effort of re-signing Eric Comrie. But again, David Riddick, he can surprise, and I think he's motivated still. I think he still wants to to be that 1B, maybe even a starter in the NHL. How realistic that is, I'm not entirely sure, but at the same time, I think there's still the motivation there for Rittich. It's just he might be getting the short end of the stick sometimes in terms of the starts that he's gotten so far. But I think you want to just at the end of the day, you want to see him make a couple more saves.
In conversation with, actually, I've been told I don't have to do this. I used to do this for 20 years on radio, but seeing as everyone knows that you're actually on, Scott, I don't have to actually reset and tell everyone who you are. Okay. So everyone knows who he is. He's Scott Billeck there. I just did it again.
There you go.
Talk to me about Connor Hellebuyck. If I mentioned best goaltender in the National Hockey League, where do you have Connor Hellebuyck?
Oh, he's up there, right? I mean, you got to look at your Shesterkins, and he hasn't had the best start to the year. Igor there, but the Vasilevskys. Yeah, the two different types of goalies, Vasilevsky and Connor Hellebuyck. Vasilevsky is obviously a very exciting goalie to watch and being very good. Connor Hellebuyck can be a bit, they call him big and boring, right? But he gets the job done. But at the end of the day, if you look at, you can look at his save percentage now, or you can look at his goals saved above average and all that kind of stuff, all the analytics. Connor Hellebuyck is back to being the dialed-in goaltender that a lot of people, had become accustomed to watching him play. The thing with him over the last couple of years is, in 1920, before the COVID, he dragged them into that playoffs. The year after that, he was, essentially the guy who dragged them right into that series against Montreal. And then at that point, the Jets just couldn't overcome the physicality. But it wasn't due to goaltending in that. And then last year, he was on an island. Connor Hellebuyck has often been on an island here in Winnipeg. One of the things that they've really mismanaged, in my opinion, at times is, putting a world-class kind of defense in front of him and getting it going. So, but yeah, the one thing about Connor Hellebuyck is the guy's extremely driven, extremely motivated. One of the things coming into this year, I think not making the playoffs last year actually probably helped Connor Hellebuyck in the long run. He actually got to take some time off, rest. Obviously everybody knows how crappy the last couple of years have been in terms of just how compact it's been, the schedules, all that kind of stuff. But I think that helped Connor Hellebuyck just take some time to reset a little bit. And he talked about that a little bit himself. Yeah. And he's back. Here's a guy that's got a .930 save percentage right now. What else could you ask for from the guy? He's been that good. The problem is they just need to not need him to be that good every night. You got to get this guy some rest, and he doesn't need to be shelled every single night he's on the ice.
Yeah, for me, one of the top three goalies in the National Hockey League, along with Vasilevsky and Shesterkin. But obviously, everyone's going to have their personal taste. This whole thing between Scheifele and Jake Evans, which obviously happened a couple of years ago.
You guys are still talking about that?
Well, I'm wondering if you guys are talking about. Do you think it's over, this whole Scheifele Evans thing, or do you think actually tomorrow somebody might go whisper something to Mark Scheifele?
Why didn't it happen last year? I guess is kind of maybe where was it last year too? Maybe I don't know. I understand these things can kind of carry on and grudges can be held and stuff. I know for Mark Scheifele, he would rather forget it. Mark Scheifele, and there'll be fans and people listening.
Of course, he'd rather forget it. It's one of the reasons why they got swept in the series.
Right, exactly. But
he
more than that,
ahead of the team.
Right, but I think a lot of people would probably agree too that Mark Scheifele's not that type of player either. If you look, he's got a pretty pristine kind of track record. Otherwise, it was a very bad decision he made, and it one that. So this came up in, I'm just going to go on a little bit here if I have some time, but so when
all the time in the world, go ahead.
So when Mark Scheifele in Vegas, he's up against Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel ends up scoring the game winner. And one of the things that got talked about around here was, why didn't Mark Scheifele just essentially, take out, not Bobby Clark, Jack Eichel's ankles, but something along the lines of just trip him or whatever to stop him. There's like 3 or 4 seconds left in overtime. by the time. I mean, you take a penalty, what does it really matter at that point?
Mm-hmm.
You probably make it to the shootout. Some people question, well, does the Jake Evans hit still kind of linger in his mind? Does he not want to just, is he scared of doing something like that again, where that doesn't even have to be like just full blown charging a guy from the blue line, but anything, right? Anything that would potentially injure a guy. I don't really see it that way. Like, I don't think that Mark Scheifele is really, he's not thinking about it anymore. I don't know. I mean, you can tell me if your guys are there or still thinking about it. I don't
not
think
something
it's
that's being discussed in Montreal.
Yeah,
what we do know is the Canadiens swept the Winnipeg Jets a couple of years
well,
ago.
and I think that's the answer, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that was the answer to that. And I think in the first game that they played, and I can't even remember if anybody really ever went after Mark. So it was one of those things where, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like, maybe it is. I mean, I just don't know if some of the guys there that would still do something about it are still interested in, paying Mark back for that. Again, like I said, I think, sweeping the Jets out of the playoffs because Mark Scheifele wasn't in the lineup was probably the worst thing that you could do to a hockey nerd like Mark Scheifele. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody's going to do something, they'll do something. But I don't think it's a big deal here anymore. If at all.
What do you expect to see tomorrow night between the Canadiens and the Jets?
Oh, well, I mean, I think it'll be a good game because, here's the thing. I think the Jets are going to be motivated to come out for Rick Bowness' second game of the year, which is interesting to say. But to come out and play the way Rick Bowness was not happy with how the Jets played. They took 5 of 6 points on this road trip, and Rick Bowness basically tore a strip off of them with the way that they played. And if you watch the games, especially in LA and obviously in Vegas, I mean, the Jets didn't deserve to win either of those games, and could have probably came away from this trip with 1 point, really, if a couple bounces went a different way. So I think that's one of the things that, I'm interested to see. Like, the Jets could turn back into the team that just crushed the St. Louis Blues a week ago, last Monday. That's not good news for the Montreal Canadiens, if that's the case. But it's also a team that could come out and get absolutely shelled by the Canadiens and lose, 5-1. And that's the problem with the Jets right now. They're kind of stuck between two different systems. The old Paul Maurice system, where it's just kind of whatever. Yeah, a little bit of that. And then they're trying to figure out this Rick Bowness Dallas Stars system. That kind of, defensive-minded, really defensive-minded kind of system where everything starts from, the inside your own blue line. That's not something the Jets, but here's the thing, like when the Jets were down on the road trip, they reverted really a lot to that old type of way of thinking. And it was just like, okay, well, let's try and get our Stars to like outscore our problems tonight. And that didn't obviously happen, at least in Vegas, it didn't happen. So, I'm expecting a Jets team to be a little more within their structure, and one that's motivated to kind of stay in there. But anything can happen. You're going to get Hellebuck tomorrow night. So that's not a good sign either. But again, this is
I don't know. The Canadiens do well against Hellebuck. The Canadiens do well against Hellebuck. Yeah,
that's true. Hellebuck's a different animal this year, but yes, it could go either way. And that's the thing with the Jets right now. That's where they're at. I mean, this is a team that either could lose 5-1 or they could win 5-1. And, it'll be one because they either stick with their structure or one because they get away with it and, mistakes just start to compound themselves and everything snowballs downhill. And the Jets kind of pick up a lot.
So if they're a team that will either win 5-1 or lose 5-1, I know that tomorrow with an over-under of 6.5, I should go under. So thank you for the tip. I appreciate it.
I'm not a betting man, but I'll let you. Yeah, you do what you do.
You know what? I used to be a betting man. I had some money in the account, and I actually took the Canadiens to beat the Winnipeg Jets in preseason of all things, because I think the Canadiens had lost their first 4 or 5 preseason games. They played the Jets in Montreal, and the Jets had nobody. The only guy they had that night was Pierre-Luc Dubois. Yeah. So I took the Canadiens, and the Jets tied up the game, I think, with 2.5 minutes left, and scored the game-winning goal with like less than 30 seconds left in the game. And I was not a happy camper when I went to bed that night. But anyway, enjoy the hockey game tomorrow night, bud.
Yeah, you too. Appreciate it.
Thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. All right, there you have it, Scott Billick from the Winnipeg Sun. So you know what? I think we teed up the hockey game for you, which is going to go tomorrow night. We had a chance to talk to Marc-André Perreault of TVA Sport and to get the Canadiens' perspective, and Scott Billeck of the Winnipeg Sun to get the Jets' perspective. Agnello and Sammy, why don't you throw up a couple of questions and then we'll call it a night. Dadanov gets another chance to prove himself. It's up to him. Would be nice if he plays well so we can trade him. I doubt he can do it, though. Well, there's no doubt that, they'd want to trade him. And they're not going to be able to trade him with the way he's playing. Next. Vitherson, do you still think that Slav will be sent down to Laval in a couple of games? Not right now, no. Next. Raymond Singh, do you think the Habs make trades and force a tank at some point this season? Yes. Next. Glenn De La Ciega, do you think Dubois will be a Hab next year? I think Pierre-Luc Dubois would like to play for the Montreal Canadiens one day. I don't know if he'll be a Hab next year. I think he'd like to play for the Montreal Canadiens one day. If they could make it happen, I think they would. I think they would. And that's about it. Hey, listen, once again, I want to thank Energy Transportation Group, the Geloso Group at 8.6 Beer, and the good folks over at La Cage for bringing you the Sick Podcast. And I want to thank all of you for watching on YouTube live, for watching on Twitter live, for watching on Facebook live, for messaging us, for sending us your questions. And I'd ask you that if you enjoy the Sick Podcast, leave a 5-star review on Google, Apple, or Spotify, and comment Sick on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. If you really like it, comment Sick, enter, Sick, enter, Sick, enter. As many sixes as you. Frank says, any plans on doing a Sick meetup for a Saturday night game where we can win prizes and meet the GOAT? Why don't we find out? Let's go to the powers. Let's go to the guys in charge. I'm just an employee that who was up until a couple of weeks ago was paid off in gift certificates. Agnello and Sammy at Master Control. Sammy, what's going on? Your Flyers lost tonight. Sammy's a Flyers fan, by the way. He loves the Flyers in hockey, and he loves the Tennessee Titans in football. Agnello, you threw out the question. Well, it was Frank who threw out the question, but you put it up. What are we doing here?
We're planning to do something at the end of the November, just a hangout party and watch a game together. And then we're planning on doing a Christmas party sometime in December. So we'll we'll keep everybody posted.
So a hangout party and a Christmas party. So we're going to have 2 gatherings. At La Cage, you would think, right?
At La Cage, yeah.
At La Cage would be nice. Yes, okay. And I think Frank wants to win some prizes. Can we have any prizes or what?
100%. We always give stuff. Every time we do events, we give stuff.
What do we give exactly, Agnello? What do we give exactly?
Spirits. We give them Canadian teas. It's mostly Sick product.
Mostly Sick product, eh?
Yeah. Hats, shirts, hoodies.
Oh, I have a real nice top. But it's upstairs. It's a Canadiens hoodie, but you have to see it. But I would actually have to go upstairs, and I'd have to get it.
Yeah,
Hold on a second.
Even Sports Buff, our sponsors, always gives us stuff.
That's what I'm talking about. Sportbuffshop.com. Hold on a second. Let's do this. The beauty of doing things live. Hold on a second. This is going to be amazing. Look at this. Instead of me leaving.
We're not going to hear your mic.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, he's calling his wife.
Is this a joke or what? I call my son. He's not answering. Okay. You know that I actually could have left by now, gone upstairs, let you and Sammy talk.
Not a good thing.
No.
Just bring it on next show. It's fine.
No. Bring it on next show. My wife's not answering either. Is this a joke or what?
What does that tell you?
You think you can entertain people and I'll go up and get the top? I have to go get it now.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
No, I have to go get it.
No, you don't.
Andrew, you there? Marco!
Only at the Sick Podcast.
Marco, I'm on the podcast live. I need you to do me a favor.
See, guy, people are saying empty comment. Come on. Now we need to see it.
I need you to do me a favor. In my room, next to my dresser on the floor, there's a bag. Bring me that bag. Right next to the window. Listen, this is stuff that you can do when you do a live podcast.
I think
this is amazing. Don't you find?
You might be the only one awake in the house. That's what they're saying.
No. My son Mark was awake. Yeah, my son Mark was awake. My wife, maybe my wife is sleeping. Mark was awake. Hold on a second. Marco's coming. This guy's the best.
Is he getting it?
Yeah, I think he's bringing it to us. Marco, I'm live on the podcast. You want to make a guest appearance here? Yes, I love this kid, man. I love this kid. Marco, come here, man. Marco Marinaro, man. That's the guy, man. Marco, get that. Look at it. Hold on a second. Let him. That's the guy, man. I love this guy, man. I love this guy. Marco, who's the best podcaster in the world? Tell them.
This sick podcast with Tony Marinaro.
Yes, sir. I love that kid, man. I love that kid.
People want to know if LaRock is coming on tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Look at this.
Yeah, it's a beautiful hoodie.
Look at this.
Yeah,
it's got my name on it. See that?
Yeah, they just started this line, actually.
Yes, they just started this line. And this is sportbuffshop.com. Agnello, this is the end of the world. Honestly,
it's beautiful. I know.
No, this is one of the nicest Montreal Canadiens apparel that I've seen in a long time. Look at this.
Wow. That's gorgeous. Yeah, so he called me today and he wants to know when you're going to wear it on the show.
You want me to wear it right now?
No, wear it tomorrow. Put it on tomorrow's show.
I thought you were going to say for me to wear it right now, so I had to take off my top live on social media. It would go viral.
I don't think you would do that, but
I've done crazy things before. You don't think I should show off this body? Is that what you're telling me?
I think you should. That's a beautiful hoodie. Honestly, it's a beautiful hoodie.
On yellow, it's gorgeous, man.
Yeah, I know.
Sportbuffshop.com. So there you have it. Okay, it's beautiful. And
wear it tomorrow night.
What do you want me, you want me to wear it tomorrow night?
Yeah, wear it tomorrow night. It's going to make him happy.
Even if they lose?
Yeah, why not?
I'll wear it the next time they win.
Oh, next time they win. That's a good point.
Okay, so if they win tomorrow night, I'll wear it tomorrow night. And if they win on Saturday, and if they lose, but they win on Saturday night versus Vegas, when I do the show on Monday night, I'll wear it then.
Perfect.
Is that good?
Yeah, excellent.
Is there anything else you want to say before we say goodnight? Is everything good with you or what?
Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in.
So we're gonna have a get together then.
Yep.
In November.
We'll do it in November, and then we'll plan something for Christmas.
We're gonna give away prizes. We got prizes from sportbuffshop.com.
Plus a lot of sick merch.
Whether it's Montreal Canadiens apparel, whether it's a hoodie, whether it's a t-shirt, whether it's a cap,
gift certificates,
some sick merchandise, some gift certificates as well. Maybe some hockey tickets.
Yeah, like Cash always throws in gift certificates also.
Cash always throws in gift certificates.
Probably find some hockey tickets also.
The Geloso group always gives us beverages.
Yep.
That we can give away.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of stuff to give away. It's going to be a good place.
In honor of Energy Transport that night, you're going to be able to feel the energy.
Yep.
It's going to be fantastic.
Yep. Let's hope all the listeners and watchers come out.
Hold on a second, though. Before we go, because you're always in a rush to leave for whatever reason. I don't know why. I should be the one in the rush to leave because you don't pay me overtime. But why don't we do this? Oh, I have the perfect time.
Go ahead.
You know, they're playing on the 12th and on the 19th. Well, on the 12th, on a Saturday night, they're hosting Sid the Kid and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And on the 19th, they're hosting Sammy's Philadelphia Flyers.
When are we in Toronto?
Me together. They're going to Toronto, these two.
Yeah, we're going to the sports card show, actually.
Yeah, when is that?
I think it's on the 12th, so maybe we'll do it on the 19th. Plus, we need time to promote the event as well.
Yeah, okay, but when is this sports card show? I want to know.
I think it's the 12th. I'm not sure the date.
You're not sure the date. So you know you're going to Toronto, but you're not sure which day you're going.
Because my wife planned it all, so I don't remember the date.
Oh, you rely on your wife to plan basically your entire itinerary.
That's it. Exactly.
She plans your whole travel, this, that, whatever. So you guys are going to be going to a card show in Toronto.
Yeah, the biggest one. I think it's one of the biggest ones in North America.
Is that right? Our buddy Chris Latournette obviously is going to be there.
He's going to be there, and there's a lot of athletes signing cards and pictures. And
yeah. And Chris is going to join us again next week on the show, correct?
Yeah, there's a new series of cards coming out. He's joining us next week. He might even open a box on the show.
He's going to open a box on the show?
Yeah, he might open a box, yes.
Well, what if he gets an amazing card? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to buy that box.
You're going to buy that box. He should give it away. He should give it to you for free, but that's beside the point.
Well, that honestly, that goes without saying. I expected a couple of boxes by now, but hey, what can I tell you? I can't force him to. You know what I mean? Nice guy. I mean, I like him. I'd like him more if I got a couple of boxes. I'll settle for that Cole Caulfield rookie card that's going for about $3,000 right now. That would be nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful card.
It's a beautiful card.
Beautiful card.
All right. Sammy.
Thank you.
Sammy, tell everyone in ending, who am I?
Marinaro.
No. Oh. How do I end the show, Sammy? I'm
Marinaro.
I'm Marinaro. All right. For Agnello Cavallaro and the brains of the operation, Sammy Cavallaro, it's the Sick Podcast. Tell your friends about it. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different, 8.6, intense by nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.